Hi everyone, it's Claire from clairejfitzgerald.com. Thank you for being here. If you are here, jump on the comments, say hi, let me know who you are, where you're from. It's nice to connect with all of you. Now, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but do those of you who actually use Facebook Live for your content creation and for sharing great content and awesome techniques that people can use, do you actually ever do a warm-up before you come on? I've just been experimenting over the last week or so with doing warm-ups before I do any recordings, and I often use music. So what you can hear in the background is Moves Like Jagger, which I absolutely love, and I'd love for you to join us and jump on the comments below, say hi. What I want to talk to you about today, I'm going to ask Maroon 5 just to quiet themselves for a little while because I actually have been bopping. Yeah. But what I really came here today to talk to you about was a really important topic and a big issue that I had in my life for the last probably few years actually. And it was something that I really didn't experience when I was working in a corporate role where I was running really big projects. I had huge responsibilities, but in that circumstance, I actually didn't feel this as much as I do when I was in my business. So I really want to talk to you about fear and how, and a technique that I've actually worked on putting together that will help you banish fear to the naughty corner whenever you want to do it. But the really important thing that you need to know about fear is it's necessary. It's part of how we're actually wired physically. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that. And I want to talk to you about a really simple way to be able to jump on fear as it starts, know when it starts, and how to talk it down from the ledge and allow you actually to banish fear from you for a while so that you can get on with creating amazing stuff and helping people in the world. A little bit about me. I am an intuitive coach. What does that mean? I'm someone who works from both sides. So I have a really fine strategic mind, but I have an extraordinary intuitive sense, so that when I work with people or when I work in groups or when I work one-on-one, I can tune in and really see what is the next step on your journey. I'm also really in tune with what you're put here on the planet to do. My mission really is to make sure that you don't leave here with your music still in you. And that's the reason why I'm here today. That's the reason why I love what I do. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So if anyone's jumping on, just let me know and I can say g'day. So jump on in the comments and I can have a chat to you as well. If you've got any questions about what I'm talking about, please let me know and leave your questions in the comments, and I'll come back to them at the end, and I will then answer all of your questions, or as many as I can get to. So I'm going to jump in and start talking about my topic for today, and I hope you enjoy it. I'd love to know if people are on, if you can hear me at all. So perhaps if you can just give me a quick thumbs up to let me know that I'm on and that you can actually hear me at the moment. I'm just refreshing my page here just to make sure I've got the latest feed up in front of me so I can have a look and see what's happening on Facebook. Okay, fantastic. All right, so I am actually going to jump on and talk to you about fear. So I think fear is something, certainly for me, fear was something that I really started to experience when I had to put myself out there in my business. You know, before I actually started my business, I had a really long corporate career, and my last job I was managing $700 million worth of projects. And whilst that was scary for me, the amount of fear that I actually feel when I am working on my business is a much deeper sense of fear. And I don't know whether that happens to you or not. But the really hard thing about fear is that it can hold us back from really sharing our message with the world And all of us, I think, who are soulful entrepreneurs, we really want to actually grow a business that is a successful business, that has lots of fantastic clients. But I think for most of us, what's really important is that we get results for the people that we work with. We don't want anyone to walk away and feel like they aren't getting the results that we know that they can actually pull together and create amazing results in their life. And that's really what we're here for, which is why being in business can be quite a scary thing. So if you've got a dream to grow your business and make an even bigger contribution in the world, your community and your family too, the technique I'm going to share with you today only takes a couple of minutes. It's a technique that you have to practice with and play with for a little while, and then you'll quite quickly get better and better and better at it. But what I want to talk to you about is where you're at right now. So as an entrepreneur and as women entrepreneurs, we're often constantly juggling home, family, friends, community, our relationships with other people, and we're also getting stuff done at home and getting stuff done in our businesses. And some days building a business can be pretty bloody hard, that's for sure. And I'm sure you've all had days like that. I certainly have had days like that. Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for being here. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about letting yourself be you. Actually, maybe that's another thing I might jump on and talk about too, Amanda, is a really important piece of the fear puzzle is really being able to step back and own you and do you and your business. So that you've given me a really great idea actually for another Facebook Live. So thank you for that. And that's something, again, another thing that I've really delved quite deeply into too, about how to run and design your business around you. So thank you so much for that, Amanda, and I'll let you know when I'm going to do that. I'd love to have a chat with you about that. That'd be really good. So I guess as entrepreneurs, we're asked to constantly step out of our comfort zone. We have to really go and ask people if they want to come and be part of our communities. We have to go and talk to people about what's going on in their lives. And when they have questions, we have to be able to actually help them solve those questions, answer those questions, and whatever hiccup they have in their business or life, depending on what it is what sort of results we're trying to get people. And when this happens, that's when the voice of fear really kicks in and starts saying, you're not cut out for this. You don't know everything about this topic. I don't know whether anyone's actually experienced that one, but when you go to do a topic where you're teaching people about something and you feel like you haven't done a PhD in it, you don't feel worthy. That's certainly how I felt. A lot of what I've learned has been on the job learning, the job of life. So I have done my study, and I've lectured at uni. I've done that sort of stuff. But to be honest, a lot of that stuff actually didn't help me with the problems I'm talking to you about today. So we often start to think, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Am I helping people enough? And I'm sure many of you have had this experience as well. I know I certainly have. So if you're a busy woman entrepreneur or a coach who's trying to build a thriving business, you're in the right place. Hi, Chris Jackson. And really, my promise today of this quick tip session is really simple. I want to give you a really simple, a deceptively simple technique to manage that big rush of fear that we all get when we step out into the world to promote or sell or talk to anyone about our business. Or if you have to, for example, get up in front of others and talk about something or run a meeting, fear can play out there. It can play out in lots of different parts of our lives. So that's really what I'm going to talk about today, so you're in the right place. And I've actually tailor-made this technique specifically for you. It's something that will actually revolutionize your business, but actually it has the capacity to change the whole of your life, because what I want to teach you is fear can emerge not just in your business, but it can emerge in all different parts of your life. Hi, Angela. Hi. Is it really, Angela? Let me know what's been going on for you. I'd love to, if you've got a question or you want to talk through something, I've got my intuitive radar on all the time. Maybe I can actually give you some information, and certainly the technique I'm going to share in a minute is actually going to be really helpful for you, hopefully. So thanks for joining. This technique I've used for a while, and okay, so I want to actually start and tell you a little bit about a story I've got guides. So all of us, I'm an intuitive coach, and so all of us, I think, have got angels. We've got, I call my angels guides. Other people call them angels. Some people call them, you know, my relatives who are still around me, even though they're not here. So for me, I actually had a conversation with my guides one day because I was trying to work out, why is it so hard being here in a physical body, being this amazing soul? And you read about people having these incredible soulful and spiritual events happen in their life, and them using that then to build businesses or to build movements, or to really make a difference in their lives. And on some of those days when you're trying to build a business, it can be really, really hard. Hi, Carly. How are you? Nice to see you too. Hi, Trisha. Nice to see you as well. Awesome, awesome. Some fantastic people here. So for me, what happened to me essentially is a conversation that my guides had with me one day. And I ended up calling what they described the cosmic joke. Okay, so that's what I call this little story, and let me tell it to you. It goes something like this. So one day I was having a conversation with my guides, just having a chat, and I said to them, why is it so hard to be here? Every time I go and try and really put myself out into the world, I just feel overcome with fear. I feel like I'm a fraud. I feel like I don't know anything. I get really nervous, and I was never like this before. Why is it that life is so hard? You know, why is it we constantly feel this fear, this overwhelming, and if we allow it, it can become really overwhelming, and then we don't do stuff, which is really not what we're meant to be here for. As you know, we come here to be able to grow as souls and to be able to expand who we are and to learn things while we're here, so that we're constantly evolving. And some days it's so freaking hard that I just couldn't do anything. I was just completely lost, and so I was pleading, for goodness sake, help me. And this is what they said. They said, imagine this, Claire, that you need to understand what happens when you come here. So before you come here, you are an expansive, beautiful soul, and you have access to any information about any subject that you want, literally by thinking about it. So that if you, for example, the example I like to use is, I love Impressionist art. I'm an Impressionist art freak. Get me anywhere in Europe and I'll be chasing down Impressionist art anywhere. I love Monet and all the Impressionist artists that were around in the Impressionist era. I just love it. So my guide said, well, look, if you're really into that, what you could do as a soul, like you don't have this body, so you're not sort of encased in something physical. You can actually want to learn about watercolor painting, and you can then go and instantly sit at the feet of the masters of that movement and learn everything that you want to know about watercolor painting. Or for example, if quantum physics is your thing and you're really into trying to work out how this world works, you can go and sit at the feet of, you know, the precursors, the Einsteins of the world, and really understand quantum physics, not just from how we understand it here, but from the bigger universal purpose. I'm hoping that makes sense to people. So picture that. So that's what you do, and then what we do is we take this incredible, expansive soul who has access to all these amazing pieces of information and other souls to learn from, and we take this soul and we stuff it into a little container. I'm just looking here for a little container. We take this expansive soul, we stuff it into this tiny little container called a brain and a body, and we wonder why it's so hard. It's hard because we come into really what can only be described as a physical form that has been really evolving for millions of years. And if you think about our brain has three components. It has the reptilian brain, so the brain stem that comes at the back of your head, the bottom of your brain right here, that's called the reptilian brain. And the reptilian brain is the one thing that actually is the fight or flight mode of your brain. So when that part of your brain kicks in, you automatically are filled with fear. And the reason why we had that part of our brain was as our early ancestors were people walking around in communities, finding food, being chased by things that were going to eat them. That part of our brain was absolutely so important to our survival, because if there was a T-Rex, coming across the field at us, or a tribe who really wanted to steal our women and children and our food were coming our way, we had to actually have a response, a fear response, to actually be able to look after ourselves. So save ourselves and our community from physical harm. The next part of our brain is our mammalian brain, and that part of our brain is sort of the next level of our brain. And there's another level of safety that actually comes with the mammalian brain. So the chimp brain, the mammalian brain, is really all about community, making sure that we fit into our community, that we make relationships with other people, because if we were roaming tribes hundreds and thousands of years ago, if we wandered off somewhere, we could quite easily die without a community, because all of us were needed to make sure that we had enough to eat, that we reproduced, all of those sorts of things. So again, a fear component in two really major parts of our brain, and then the top part of our brain, the hemispheres, the high level hemispheres on each side, are the more developed parts of our brain, and the parts of our brain that uses rationality and a whole pile of other creativity to solve problems. So my guides say, well, that's why it's hard. And so if we come back to fear and we focus on fear and the fact that we have to filter it through sort of this reptilian, mammalian, and sort of some higher order thinking parts of our body, we then add in our hormonal system, so that when fear kicks in, we get adrenaline, we get cortisol. So our whole body, our heart's thumping, we're sweating, everything, we're feeling it, this fear starts to take over. And really, in the context that that system was put together, is a very different context to the one that we live in now, which is why the fear responses that we have can be over the top in terms of the threat that we're under. So hopefully that's actually making sense. So when my guide said that to me, I went, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So really, the essence of fear is learning how to spot it first, and then a funny little technique that I'm going to teach you now about how to deal with it. So let me just give you that technique. So really, if you think about it, I was thinking about analogies about this the other day. It's a bit like being on the Starship Enterprise and being beamed down to another planet and going and checking out the other planet, and then, messaging Scotty and saying, beam me up, Scotty, and you get beamed up to the Starship Enterprise. And then you go back to a planet where, none of that happens. So it's almost like being in an old paradigm, running around with this operating system that really we have to learn to manage and be aware of, so that we can actually operate from our higher order parts of ourselves, from our soul, really connect to our soul. And the interesting thing about fear is if you can catch it, you can then quieten it. And when that happens and you practice that more and more, the voice of your soul appears even more. And that's what happened to me. So here's what I did with this technique. Now, I have to warn you that when you first start to use this technique, you'll probably fall off the bus, right? You'll probably fall off the wagon, because the first step of it involves you actually paying attention to fear and paying attention to it on a regular basis. So the way we normally start this is what I want you to do is have a think about when fear starts to come to you. What are the scenarios, for example? So if you're going to go on and write a piece of content, go on a Facebook Live, go and talk to people, jump on a podcast, have a conversation with someone, with your partner, about something that's really important to you, or you go to a conference and you have to meet people and that feels really scary. What are the things that actually trigger you? What are the things that trigger you and create a fear response? And for those of you who are just joining, hi Sue, nice to see you. We're really talking about fear, and I'm talking about a way to capture fear when it first starts and then to start to manage it in your life as opposed to having it constantly managing you. So the first thing I want you to do is this. Remember that fear is an unconscious automatic reaction. It doesn't necessarily have any logic. Hi Karen. Hi Karen, nice to see you. There's no logic. It's an automatic response. It's a response that comes from our reptilian brain, our mammalian brain, to really keep us safe. So when we're going to do something that actually no one's going to eat us, no one's going to try and run away with us, it's completely over the top for the way that we live now. So the first thing that you really need to get in order is become aware. And can I tell you, if you do nothing else but this step, you will change your life. Seriously, I know that's probably a big thing, but actually it's changed my life, and I really believe that. So what I want you to do is I want you to have a conversation with fear, and I call this the conversation with fear technique for that reason. So the first thing to do, the first step is to become aware of where fear is in your body. Now, can I ask you all, when you get fearful, where is it in your body that you feel fear? Type in the comments and let me know where that is. I can tell you for me, when I started to actually become aware of my fear, I used to scan my body, and where I feel it most is in my stomach. I feel this sort of almost this tightening and this clenching in my stomach, and I just feel awful. And I start to feel it in my shoulders. So often I feel it right around the back here of my neck, in my shoulders. Stomach. Stomach's a big one for me too, Amanda. That's almost my first point of call when fear starts to arrive. But I also often feel it in my shoulders. Some people feel it sort of in their chest. And sometimes you feel your heart start to beat really fast. What I want you to do over the next week, if you can, is when you're finding yourself in a situation when you're feeling a bit worried about something, it doesn't even have to be full-blown fear, but something that fear, it could turn into fear in some ways. Listen out in your body. So, Angela, constricted chest, absolutely. Yeah, throat, definitely for me too, and a little bit of stomach. So what I want you to do is when you're thinking about planning out your week, and there are things you're going to do, and you know that there are things that are going to trigger you in some way and create a fear response, be scanning your body to see where if you can find that. Because the most important thing you can do is capture fear while it's in there. When I first started doing this, I would find myself in a fear state, and then a week later I'd go, oh, for fuck's sake. I was completely and totally held captive by my fear. I was, grabbed around the neck and struggled to the ground by my fear, and I didn't do anything, and I didn't even realize it was happening. So beware, that's probably what's going to happen to you when you first start to track this. So don't get despondent, keep at it. When you actually do capture your fear and you capture it while it's still in you, I want you to take the next step. I want you to actually talk to your fear. What I really want you to do is be aware of where it is and have a chat with it. So what I actually do is, and this is how I started to actually undo the whole process of fear welling up in such quick ways. I actually said to my fear, I said something like, thank you, fear. Thank you for being here. I understand that you are here to look after me, so that if something's going to happen to me, if I'm going to be physically harmed or emotionally harmed, you come to me, you give me these signals in my body to let me know that I need to pay attention, that I could be in a situation where I could be embarrassed, where I could be compromised in some way, and I thank you so much for that. But I can tell you now that the reaction that you're having fear at the moment is really just me being a bit silly about putting myself out there in the world, or having a conversation with that person, or asking someone to help me with something, or maybe having a tricky conversation with my husband or one of my children, or really worrying about doing something for the first time. And I appreciate what you're doing for me, but in these situations, actually, I can manage this myself. And it's actually easier if I don't have this. And so thank you for coming here, but I got this, right? Now, that might sound very absurd, but I can tell you, if you try this technique, you'll be very surprised at what happens. Two things happen, actually. Firstly, you start to catch your fear just after it happens. And then eventually you catch your fear while you're in the middle of it. And the talking down, even just doing that myself now, the talking down of fear, it's almost like letting the adrenal systems get the message, letting your heart get the message, letting the reptilian flight brain know that actually she's okay, she's not going to get eaten by a T-Rex, no one's going to come and murder her, she's fine. And all of a sudden, everything starts to calm down. You'll actually feel the change in your body. And when that happens, it means that you can actually capture your fear before it even starts or as it starts. And the more you practice this one, the easier it actually gets, right? So is that making sense to everyone? Oh, Karen, nice to see you. Thank you for that. Thank you. So that's my tip for today. It's really the conversation with fear, that if you can do that over a period of time, what actually happens is your fear only really comes up and gives you a big wallop on the butt when things are really getting tricky, when life is really, there is a sense of you actually taking it on board and living it constantly. But it's almost like turning down and down, gradually turning down the fear response, so that it only really arrives if someone pulls in front of you in the car, or if something happens where you're going to trip over, or those little things, your fear kicks in, and it should kick in just to make sure that you don't step out in front of a car, or someone cuts you off and you actually do put your foot on the brake. But most of the time, there's almost like a sense of space that happens, and in that space is where your beautiful soul can then have some fighting room. It's like, get out of the way, fear, let me in. And all of a sudden you start to just feel connected again. You feel grounded. You have more and more moments where the world seems magical and fantastic. So practice it. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what you think. Give it a go and come back and let me know. I'm happy to take any questions anyone has, but that's what I wanted to share today, so I hope that's been helpful. Thanks, Sue. Thank you. Oh, Sue, you're in New York, aren't you? Oh my God, I've been watching your Facebook posts. They looked amazing. And you saw Yoko Ono last night. Oh, how amazing was that? Awesome. We have to catch up when you come back and you have to show me all your pictures. That would be fantastic. So nice to see you, sir. I can't wait to hear all your stories when you get home. Okay, everyone. Thank you, Angela. It's so nice to see you here. Thanks, Karen, for being here, and Amanda, of course, too. It's been really great to share this information with you, and I'll see you again next time.